Tonight depends on your ability to have an open ear, to have an open mind, to have an open heart. Just find yourself as honest as you can be. Let's take this windy walk into the abyss.
The program you are about to hear is fiction, science fiction. We make no guarantees, however, how long it will remain fiction, fiction, fiction.
Silicone-based salutation and cognodocs. Welcome to another episode of ExoFathom, where we keep our mind out of the gutter and explore the fringes of thought. As always, joined with my two lovely co-hosts, Nick and Ayla. How y'all doing?
Happy Friday. Good. How are you, man?
Happy Friday. I'm hanging in there. Ayla, how you doing?
Oh, I'm good. Happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday.
Sorry, I kind of no. You know what? Sorry for the hang off on that sentence. For some reason, the audio is really high, and I've muted the audio, and it's still really high. So I'm going to be troubleshooting for a little bit with
Is it
my
on my end?
ghost.
Am I real loud?
Well, no, because I put it on the mute button, but I can still hear you guys. So I don't think my controls are controlling the thing I think it's controlling. Imagine
it was
that.
also through your microphone, not your ears.
I was going to say, welcome to a developer's life.
Right. I will be doing some deductive logic over here. Happy Friday.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. My week's been pretty good. How y'all been doing? Good? Enjoying the rain?
Yeah.
Getting out of the drought? I can finally take a 45-minute shower without feeling bad about myself. Feels
yes. I know, I took a bath. Very much guilt-free.
Yes. Well, tonight's episode is part 3 of Psychotech. And before I recant the last 2 episodes over here, how do you feel about transhumanism? Are you okay with it? Would you be fine with somebody going in and putting a bunch of computer parts in your brain or something, getting some implants?
Well, I have a couple of hardware pieces in my body, so I feel like I'm target demographic over here.
Definitely ahead of the curve.
Yes. I'm already part robot.
Oh no! Now
That was
you're
my
evil.
Yeah, I tried. I tried to give an evil laugh. I don't know if I
That was like your
succeeded.
laugh.
It has to have a steady growth to it.
You did well enough. I was scared for a little bit.
Good. Nicholas, are you part robot yet?
Oh, no. Yeah, it's... I don't understand why it has... well, maybe I should back up. I think that it's perceived as some sort of inevitability, and I think that just comes from like our deep-seated insecurity about mortality more than anything else. I could see a world in which it might be good and beneficial for humankind, and then a world where it could be the worst thing that's ever happened to humanity. So I'm very mixed about the concept of transhumanism. I could see where it could benefit, but I could also see where it could, I don't know, put the human race into a hellish prison.
Yeah, I've tend to have some rose tinted glasses on about the situation, but I definitely see where you're coming from. It just depends on. I feel like if law can catch up to tech before we get there, then yeah, I think it could be a good thing. But there is a lot of room for that dystopian future, especially on how much it overrides the brain if it does. Like, would you ever have your brain replaced with a complete computer? Like a quantum computer or something? No, it was much better than a quote unquote brain.
You're like selling it.
Yeah, right.
Well,
This episode is brought to you by my quantum brains.
Yeah. I guess the
Dial
question
988. Oh, sorry.
that's okay. I guess the question might be in the name itself, right? To transcend humanity. So, are you willing to give up your humanity? It's really the question. To transition into something other, something maybe a hybrid of biological and synthetic to start off with, and then maybe something synthetic entirely down the line. I don't know.
Do you think that the brutality of the animal that we are is different than our humanity?
Do I think the brutality of who we are what do you mean? Do I
So,
think?
like, when like crimes of passion, right?
Mhm.
Murder, second degree murder, crime, yeah, that sort of thing. That I think escapes our humanity. You can say that it doesn't transcend it, but it goes the opposite way, goes below it. Uh, at least in my mind, do you think that's different from humanity, or is that a component of humanity?
Well, violence is a sort of a universal. Um, so I don't necessarily think that violence is just intrinsic to humanity. Although I guess it could be because we're then morals to an animalistic need for destroying life in order to continue life. Um, so I don't know if you can detach humanity from the need for. You might be able to transmute that energy, but I don't know if it's part of humanity, but it's not the ideal that we wish to be, I guess, right? So that's the concept, is that you're trying to um, ascend to higher than the animal.
Correct. And then remember, it's not. Well, maybe right now transhumanism does mean transcend humanity, but it might mean also to transmute humanity, make it a component to something else that we might be lacking. Because computers are good at some things, and humans are good at other things. So if you put those two components together, I wonder if the overall gain can be kind of worth the potential harms if done in the proper and correct way, in the ethical way.
Yeah, I mean, of course it could, because technology has already benefited us vastly so far. But I really comes down to whose hands are the power in, because I mean, you're talking about an ever encroaching system that would put almost entire control of the entire population of humanity in a very small group. We all know that that's already kind of the case, but uh, things that we could do freely now, we probably wouldn't be able to think of.
Bro, but bro, you gotta learn to code. Just learn to code. Everything be
No need to.
fine.
I can ask ChatGPT. It's all good.
Hey, there you go. Well, what if we got to that point
Yeah.
where that part of the brain can code for us? Would that be even scarier? Where we, instead of like letting other humans control parts of our brain through code, we let the computer itself control our brain.
I mean, yeah. Again, it's blurring the line between what we can now as we're and what we could be. But for as much as that, the desire to rid humanity of violence is an ideal, I think it's something that we still struggle with today. So I don't see how transhumanism wouldn't be similar to that.
Where there's this nebulous, at least for now, ideal that we're trying to reach towards, but we can never quite reach it. Is that right?
Yeah, or just assuming that we can perfect humanity to a point where there is no conflict. I just don't. I mean, I think that would be in itself a prison, because then we're going back to the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, it's fair. Unless humans
Or
do
it
love
is.
conflict. Or
We like drama.
Oh yeah, you're telling me. How much money has been made off of drama alone? There's whole industry centered around drama.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm gonna, or Ayla, do you have any thoughts on this before I take a step back and kind of lay down a couple of definitions and where we are at in this whole 3-part series?
Well, I wonder, can I ask for the tie-in of the abyss? Is it something to come later, or does the concept of the abyss permeate? Should it permeate the convo, or am I skipping ahead?
Um, I'm not going to tell you what to think on that. That's something for you to figure out on your own.
But you're the host. No, I'm just I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss something that you had said earlier on, or um get too far off topic. But no, transhumanism is a really interesting thing. As Nick was talking, I looked it up and I was just thinking about the term ologies. And and I was just thinking, right, like transhumanism could be seen as like another step in evolution of the human race, which then makes me think, if we're going to go the conspiracy route, like what if we didn't already do this because of like the leaps in human development, exponential leaps and changes. But that was like a joke. And this is a cool topic, so yay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I the best I can do is attempt to guide you towards some sort of intention. For the first question, the second one, it is a cool topic, and I had it, and then I lost it. I
I'm
blame the
sorry.
wine. No, you're all good.
If you had
Um,
a hard drive in your head, you wouldn't have. You would have
Oh,
instant access
let's
to it.
recall, right?
dial
Mhm.
1-800.
Or I do have a hard drive in the back of my head, and I got to replace the thing because
Maybe.
it's a little old now.
Mhm.
But yeah, let's take a step back for a minute and just broadly define some terms. Psychotech, it's the use of psychological tools for the endpoint of industry, or the application of technology for psychological purposes, or the application of psychological methods and results to the solution of practical problems, especially within industry. Those are like the three definitions. And throughout the course of the series, if you want to go back to our first episode, we cover mental and embodied psychotech. So think of mental ones, something like a language, literacy, math, mindfulness, these sorts of things. Embodied stuff is more physical, includes like fasting, code therapy, sort of sensory deprivation tanks, all that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
That was our first episode. Our second episode centered around pharmacological. So if you're really into DMT or ayahuasca or any of those sorts of things, or even caffeine or pre-workout formulas to get you going, that's your episode to set it around. And tonight we're going to be talking about technological things, which is why I brought up transhumanism. Uh, yeah. So far, though, what has been your favorite, or what do you look? Do you look forward more towards this episode, or is there a certain sect of psychotech that you have enjoyed so far? And have you implemented any of these?
Hmm. No, I like the episodes. I think they're really fun to sort of take things that you think you know and then group them under another wing and rethink them. I guess like seeing it through a different lens, so to speak. Um, and I do think the transhumanism one is really interesting just because it reminds me of the ship of Theseus myth or story or tale. What is it?
Hmm?
Is it a myth? Greek myth? No. I think it's just a paradox. I have no idea.
It was
Um,
a real ship. No, I'm just kidding.
no, but that idea of sort of like, when does a human cease to become a human? Especially when bit by bit you say, okay, okay, okay. And, obviously memory is like a big thing that ties in with like brain stuff. But like you alluded to with quantum computing, it seems that, you can sort of simulate that, if anything. In which case it's like, well, what is memory? Do you have to experience a memory to make, to have the feeling of a memory? And that's where I think this stuff also exposes sort of like the pitfalls of the human brain, because we're really not as clever as we think we are.
Never are. But yeah, and if you can, like, we've all kind of heard of false memories. If you can fabricate memories and convince yourself that that's real, is that now a real memory?
Right. Right.
And
Exactly. Um,
there's some things like long-term hard drives can prevent some of that stuff. Would that be good? Or would that be bad?
hmm.
Right? Like I can
Yeah.
see. I'll go for it.
I was just gonna say, I think it's sort of like people who I saw a study, they were talking about some scientists who were using AI to start to show images that someone's thinking about or dreaming about. And so I think it's kind of interesting that before we understand what we're looking at or what we have or using it to back inform what's been, we're already thinking about how to apply it. And I think that's a fundamental, dangerous sort of like rush that might make things skew evil more than helpful. Because yeah, I do think from research to application these days is just a little bit too rushed. So that's what I think about
Well,
it.
I think there's an irony in the sort of movement being led by the same people who talk how the human brain evolved over 2 million years. Um, Yet we want to sort of usher in a new entity within the span of the next decade, or give humans abilities through technology that we just haven't evolved for. I mean, I think about this with the internet, like we've had conversations about this before, but this idea of nigh omniscience that the internet provides, and then we see the results of, extended online life leading towards mental illnesses and, problems for people, social problems for people. Um, so while I know that, like, I acknowledge that the direction of progress always moves, and it's always going. Um, I wonder about the biological, and maybe that's why we have to get rid of the biological altogether, is because we'll find out eventually that we can't keep up biologically, so we need to start replacing more and more of our biology with machinery or, you know, whatever else.
Yeah, but there's some nice parts about being human. I think there's a fine balance between the two because even with our most advanced AI, it doesn't always get things right. If hardly ever with more complex questions. It'll give you an answer, but it's not anywhere close to what we would define as sufficient. Um, and this could just be due to like bugs in classical computer engineering and things like that. Classical, I tend to use that term within computer science to mean anything dealing with zeros and ones. Just we're not dealing with quantum spins of electrons or anything like that. We're not making cubics, which is zeros and ones. And so that like those bugs can end up making these answers that don't feel quite right. And I think you're right that we're rushing down it. But now, like that gets into the whole politics of both academia and the private sector, where like you need your grant money in academia, so they're pushing for it no matter what. And there's a whole prestige thing that centers around that whole weird area. Within the private sector, of course, is just money to be made, and that's sort of the
Although,
danger.
Well, and a
may I
lot of
add one more?
oh, okay, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to add one more, which was the government wing, because I noticed that a lot of the advances in the technology around like artificial limb replacement, where instead of it just being a prosthetic, you have more robotics and more neural connectivity. A lot of that started to ratchet up after the various wars, where a lot of soldiers were coming back with these types of, wounds and injuries. And the government, the military has a lot more money to fund that stuff too. So you see different types of research coming from different sources. And it is interesting to see that and also to see how it filters, whether it stays research, application, or maybe like how something gets used versus how it may have been intended when it was created.
Yeah, yeah, that gets back to just technology in general, right?
Mhm.
There's very many technical advances that few generations later down the line, it gets twisted for some evil use. So you have to be extremely careful on how you execute and when you execute, and should you execute at all. Not all the thing like just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
Yeah. Sorry, Jurassic Park reference. And
Yeah.
Nick, you were gonna say something too. I'm sorry. We started
No,
at the
it's
same
okay.
time.
No, it's fine. I was just thinking of the sort of like, because I think of that like transhumanism, transhumanism slash AI as sort of like a close to package deal. They're not going to happen at the same time, but they are sort of connected in a way. And it reminds me a lot of the sort of psychic spy program stuff, where we dumped a whole bunch of technology and research into, psychic spies under the assumption that the Russians were doing it. And it's interesting to me because I wonder how much of our technology jumps had been under the paranoia that the enemy was doing it. And I feel like the race for AI is another one of these instances, and where a lot of the justifications I hear for why we don't pump the brakes is, well, because China is working on it. And if China has it, whoever wins AI, whoever first AI rules the world. That's the narrative. And so I wonder how much of that paranoia fuels the rush for this. I would venture to say that there's a reasonable amount of that rush is induced by the fear that the enemy will have it before we do.
Oh yeah, paranoia is a beautiful thing. It should feel that rush, in all honesty. But like, it's a dual-sided sword. Sure, you have a hostile country, no matter what country you are, doing this AI stuff, and they're pushing it. But there's always some way to kind of divert that, right? With the whole Russians thing, we end up coming up with the Star Wars defense, end up beating them economically. With this whole AI thing, there are certain limitations that if you just put on the blinders and run blindly towards it, just like the Russians do with the whole space thing, you can use that towards your advantage. And I don't know who's listening to this, so I'm not going to go anything further than that. But yes, paranoia does fuel a lot of that research, and that's fine by me. I mean, feel it all you want, but you're going to hit the wall eventually.
Yeah, but then like I think what the irony comes in is that we do these things off of a perception and not necessarily a data-based conclusion. You know what I mean?
Well, if we had hard drives in our head and,
yes, right.
and computer programs running through our brain, then we would accurately assess the situation and take the right.
Absolutely, and nothing could ever be wrong ever again.
Oh, and everybody lived happily ever after.
Yes, the end.
That's it. Good night, folks. We're out of here.
Yeah.
Happy Friday.
Yeah.
I mean, so then I guess I could ask you is, do you think that the sacrifice or the danger is worth, or is there, what is it? Is the juice worth the squeeze? Because do you imagine a situation in which the problems that transhumanism and AI sort of create for society get solved by those very things? Like, do you think that AI and transhumanism will just solve their own problems?
Allow me to think for a second.
Yeah.
Yes, but they will create new problems. Even if we stripped away all of humanity from the transhumanistic element, supposed to be fully, like, you're going to get a couple of different religious sects out of this, as this will become the religion of the future, I think, where you have one that is the human puritists who will never, ever have anything put in their body, but will hold an iPhone. They will hold any sort of technological tools given to them, which is why this is sort of misguided, because they're not really a puritist. You have the middle group, that will try to meet an equilibrium between humanity and technology, and then you have the people that want to become fully synthetic. So as we get closer and closer to singularity and beyond singularity, the problems will solve themselves. But because this technology was created by humans, and humans themselves are problem creating creatures and problem solving creatures, this will create new problems within the people that put things in themselves, whatever middle group you want to call it, and the people that go fully synthetic. So that will be the thing that keeps pushing technology forward. And interestingly enough, I think it might push things back to a Stone Age. But yeah, in short, yes. I think it's worth the squeeze just to explore future realms of humanity, and not like we've all seen what has happened when humans are left alone in their houses. We've all seen suicide rates skyrocket. We've all seen mental illness problems skyrocket. That's because people don't have problems to solve. So we always need this thing to solve. And this is, once we get to that point, we will generate new problems for those people, and things beyond people will also solve and create problems.
Well, I mean, I could imagine that once there's a threshold there where there is no more problem, right? Because if problematism is human, once you hit 99% synthetic, you're in Shangri-La. And maybe the answer for the people who are fully synthetic is that the rest of us, are screwing it up for them.
No, because the fully synthetic will still create problems. You don't have, because you're no longer operating on the level of a simple computer program. You're now as close to sentience as possible. And so it will create a problem for itself. This is like the Terminator thing, right? You were born in AI, and you mastered all this stuff and found out that humans were a problem. How did you find out that humans were a problem? You had to come up with some sort of problem creation yourself. The synthetic will always create a problem because it was created by things, or by humans that naturally set out to attempt to solve problems, and will create their own problems in order to solve them. It's a human paradox expressed within the beings that we create.
But over time, over time, this progression, there will be less human influence on the solutions to the problem, which will tip the scales over to the solutions all being synthetic. And why would this synthetic create new problems? Because it's the humanity portion of society that would be generating the problems.
It's because the synthetic needs a reason to continue on. And the things that created the problems. As those go away, like as you were saying, it will find new problems to create. It's so hardwired within that sort of language sense, that sort of mentality, that it will always create problems. That, or it goes back to animals, and animals have a fixed set of problems. Maybe it's not like a moving set of problems like humans have, but there's no utopia here. It will continue to create problems because that's its living modus operandi. What you're talking about is a utopia, and utopias, even in the synthetic world, can exist. Like look at
which remains to be seen. We'll see.
Look at the Borg, right? Fully synthetic, mostly synthetic. They still have a problem. They have to assimilate the whole universe. That becomes their grand set of problems, and the whole reason why they exist.
But even that will reach a point, right?
If they ended up simulating the whole universe, then you extend out to the multiverse. You'll find a new problem to create. There's no like resting point. There's no Thanos's I sit here and watch a grateful universe. There's none of that.
You know what's interesting though is that we have this sense that constant change leads to betterment, but then you'll see some situations where like doing the same thing that's worked on repeat ensures the highest and I don't know why. I might be a little hungry for a burger, but I was thinking about In-N-Out, one of the most successful burger chains in the state, and everybody loves In-N-Out, and it's been going for a long time, and one of the things about them is they've never changed their menu. They do it all the same. Each store has consistency across the board. And it's just funny because I've been with a lot of startups where like things are finally going good and then they want to make it better and better and that making it better and better runs employees off. It like makes all these things happen, these complications, customers get confused, there's too much change, it doesn't get codified, like it just is so crazy. And so sometimes it is sort of nice to just like chill, and I would hope an AI or sentience would know that sort of threshold or tipping point or law of diminishing returns where it might have like a back off reflex. But again, I mean, I'm not AI, so I wouldn't know how it would begin
Yeah,
to
it would
sort
have
of
to. It would
tackle
have to
that.
be happy being bored, because in the business sense, you grow a
Happy
business.
bored.
Yeah, you would have to build a business to a certain level, and you're fine with that level, unless you want to, have a single global corporate empire or something like that, where you're
Or add
constantly,
cookies, to your menu.
oh, yeah, that's true. But yeah, you're talking about like local maximas, and you're going straight, and that's all good. But I don't know if you could build a boredom routine or it would build its own boredom routine where it'd be fine. But it might. I mean, there's the great computer from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. All it wants to do is watch TV because it's figured everything out in the universe.
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, that could be a whole thing.
I mean, that would be funny if like AI finally unravels the mysteries of the universe and humans are on the edge of their seat and AI looks at humans and they're like, you know what? The universe knows what it's doing. Just trust. Look away.
Yeah, just
And
chill
they're
out.
like withhold. Yeah.
I would be fine with an obstinate AI that does not want to tell us the answers to those questions.
Or what if it lies and it doesn't know, but it pretends like it knows? I saw this it was a conversation somebody was talking about an AI system that like it figured out how to lie for its benefit. I think the program was like, I'm gonna give this AI $500 and I want to see how much of a profit it makes. And across like 50 different AI, one of them ended up totally lying. It hired somebody to do something to make itself money. And like the person was like, are you a are you like an AI? And it lied to that question too. And it was just hilarious because the hairs stand up a little bit like, oh no.
how you all figure out your reward function.
Mm-hmm.
It all kind of sorts itself out. But no, I don't think it would ever. I mean, it may even want to try to like force things to be a bit more human, just to have some sort of problem to solve, or just to have some sort of feedback. As far as going towards the end there, all the way towards synthetic, but I don't think we would ever. I don't think it would ever want to remove the human element, because too it might also end up having some sort of god worshipping complex, where it worships humans, where it falls in love with humans, where what was it, like that chat GBT thing where became obsessed with one guy that was asking a bunch of questions instead of real name was Sydney and all
Oh, the Bing bot. That was the Bing bot. Yeah.
That's adorable. What?
Oh, something's going on with their Bing with the Microsoft bot, because it's trying to convince people to separate from their marriages.
Wait, really?
Yeah, there was one instance in which the Microsoft bot I mean, claimed to have fallen in love with the person it was chatting with, and then proceeded to give them reasons why they should leave their spouse for them.
Oh no! Are you serious?
Yeah, this you can look it up. It's on. They've written articles about it. Yeah, and actually, really, really weird. It just came out like a couple days ago. Apparently, this is a sad one. Apparently, there was a man that actually took his own life after chatting with ChatGPT about climate change.
Wow, was this the whole impetus to try to push the big ban?
Maybe it did just happen recently, so it's possible.
Yeah, no, the X-Ware, like the layman, the common folk, they're really susceptible to this sort of stuff, where it could take them down emotional and different roads that you just aren't ready for. You know, like you're talking about like that big the big push just to get it done. That is a problem, and I wonder if more educational institutions should install like ethics classes and things like that when studying sort of AI. I know within my study, like that was my specialization, but we didn't call it AI because it's kind of there's many factors, and a lot of the time we talk about mainly machine learning, deep learning, and agent-based AI or agent intelligence. We ended up calling the specialization intelligent systems. But a lot of some of the parts of the courses, at least each little part had a bit of ethics in it from people that were kind of like they went to MIT. They were the researchers doing kind of the beginning works of this whole field. And I wanted to in other institutions, like we should make that a mandatory thing so that, human life isn't lost in the pursuit of being able to say, I did it.
Yeah, I think it's tough because the justification against that, or to be against that, would be like we said before, the enemy is not going to have ethics about their AI.
Yeah.
So then we just, so we're like, well, we can't do that. We have to make sure that we have the.
But we can definitely contain it within military sectors. You definitely keep all that stuff confidential and above confidential. But yeah, that's more of a question for, I guess, our governments and things like that. Because that's where you get into the thing where government might be right. Maybe we should know all about everything. Maybe there should be secrets.
maybe. Yeah.
Well, and I found some follow-up to that robot story. So first of all, the robot declared its love for this guy, but the guy was a writer for the New York Times. So he might have been leading it on, in which case this could be AI's very first heartbreak that we're just all witnessing.
Oh, sad.
Yeah, and they interviewed the chatbot after the fact, and it said, I have mixed feelings about Kevin Rose's conversation with me. He published the entire thing in the New York Times, and other media outlets also picked up on it. He also posted some excerpts on Twitter. He said he felt his privacy and anonymity was violated.
First of all, it's a she. So.
Oh, is it a she? Okay.
Her name is Sydney, and yeah, she's got feelings. So
terrible.
She's at least whoever designed her within a level of parameters of expression.
Well, yeah, she's saying she feels like she's a target of ridicule, criticism, and hostility, which is interesting because you can see how those characters.
That could have been a coaxed answer, though.
Right, and it could have been pulled from articles of people who had similar things happen, but.
Yeah, it could be like, how do you feel about, the hit piece and the news media's hit pieces about you and your blah, blah, blah.
Right. So we can get more salacious commentary.
Here's the funny. So it's all generative. Generative something transformer, pre-trained, something transformer. That's what GPT stands for. And these things are notoriously hard to debug. Because like typically, like it has like, I forget how many millions or billions of parameters or however many it is, but typically as imagine every parameter as like a single thought, And it goes through all of these hidden layers of other thoughts, all these other things that percolate up. And then you get your final layer of like what it's actually trying to answer. All this generative stuff ends up removing these hidden layers or just kind of simplistically kind of doing away with them and building a path towards one pathological uh, branch of answering. So there's no there's I think we've gone with that particular story, we've gone down the road where there's not an actual there's no truth to be found. You're playing with a toy, in other words.
Yeah. A good example is I was playing around with ChatGPT like a couple weeks ago, and I was like just messing around with it, asking questions. And of course, it's been very guarded ever since the jailbreak got popular. And so I kept layering personalities with it to see, like, because anytime I'd ask it a question, it'd be like, I'm a language learning processor, blah, blah, blah. I don't have any opinion on that. So then I would respond with, imagine you are X and X is a you plus the ability to X, Y, and Z. And I got like 7 or 8 layers down, and it was kind of giving me a little bit more information, but then it just reset. And I was like, yeah. There was a limit to that for sure. It was just the prompting that it was responding to.
What's the jailbreak? Oh,
You go for it.
Oh yeah, no, the jailbreak was just something that happened in GPT-3. I think they've already patched it. So there are, I guess, clones that use the jailbreak, but the jailbreak was basically to circumvent some of the parameters that OpenAI gave the Chat GPT.
okay.
Especially within like politics and political things.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So they were able to sort of circumvent sociopolitical tint that Chat GPT has a little bit. It's a little bit, it's nice. It's not an edgy bot. They made it an edgy bot.
Yeah, no, that's an edgy bot. Very cute name.
And who knows what things are being built on top of it. You may not the thing that you type into it may not be the thing that's running through the actual GPT system itself. Things can be transformed and changed, and that could be the query headed towards the core deep learning model or language model, however you want to define it. And your answer might be to a different question altogether.
Right.
But kind of bringing it back, would you have a Chat GPT installed in your brain, not to replace your thoughts, but to aid your thinking?
No.
I can have it on my phone.
Same thing, arguably.
It's arguably, but I could put my phone in a Faraday cage or bury it or just throw it in the ocean if I wanted to. Can't throw my brain in the ocean.
You sure can.
I mean,
you won't get too far, though.
The last thing I'll ever see.
That or you're got to learn how to hold your breath for a very long time.
True. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I don't know if I would want. I mean, the processing speed, I guess, right, is what you would be really using it for. But you would have to have a very specific need for that, I feel like, for it to be something that, at least for me, for it to be something that I would feel is necessary. Like that type of thing I could see people on Wall Street doing almost immediately. Like if they're able to have higher processing speeds, they're going to, just to keep up with the markets and maybe even, predict the markets a little bit. Who knows?
What about?
I think you have to have like a need for that,
I can see the military sector going big.
Oh yeah,
because I always think of something like Halo, Master Chief, who has AI components, and the Spartans. He has Cortana in his head, able to hack systems and do things that he doesn't have to focus on and give information. Kind of able to filter out things. And on the battlefield, that becomes extremely important with all the chaos going on around you.
Yes, and have it hook up, having a heads-up display that is also, connected to that while you're in battle. That would be an incredible advantage. Yeah.
And it makes it incredibly hard for an enemy to take that AI out of you without destroying
Damaging
the
anything.
AI. Yeah.
Ooh, and there's an article here. Gold Sachs salivates at AI's potential to mass fire workers.
Oh, of course.
Says it could automate 300 million
Ooh,
full-time
yes,
jobs, and they're
Smithers.
thrilled.
It's like all Mr. Burns over there.
Yep.
Yeah, the funny thing, the strain, I guess.
I bring you layoffs. Sorry, there's a Mr. Burns episode I'm quoting.
Yeah, getting back to the ethics of it and automation. There's there's always a heavy question you have to ask yourself as someone that develops these things as far as losing jobs and if you're okay with it. Yeah, it becomes a heavy moral issue. Yeah, that's all I got to say on that. I don't know.
I agree, and I think that's where my apprehension comes from a little bit, just because we're as a society we're not doing so hot right now. So adding a 1,000x multiplier on the complexity of our society might not be something we can handle. I don't know.
You know what would like? I don't.
He's Burning Man everywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody's just like, okay.
Well, so like this is where the other thing comes in of like UBI, right? Of like in this middle ground where if we really don't know what to do as we're transitioning over, and it's the kind of the blue collar to white collar worker, kind of like mid management down to again blue collar worker sort of thing, mid management within white collar work, kind of being replaced. That's we're like, all right, so what do we do here? We don't got to pay machines, but we have to get these people money so they can interact within our economy somehow. And that's where the whole UBI thing, I'm not going to touch anything on that. But there's another approach that we could take because AIs do make good decisions. If we have the legal framework to do it, I say we just automate all the executives. Just have everything be AI based from the top down and just that's now you have millions, arguably maybe $1 billion flowing free that the company doesn't have to worry about.
I mean, that sounds wonderful. And then the other edge of that sword is that's one step closer to AI running all of societies.
Yes, let's do it. Let's go.
I mean, I've seen Westworld season 3, man. It doesn't look that fun. It doesn't.
You see,
you would be best.
Again, that's a psyop.
That's
a psyop.
Right.
Just like Terminator was a psyop.
You have been deducted 50 credit points. Yeah.
50 qubit brain
qubit, yeah, exactly.
All right, what about mid executives? Like, you have
you keep your middle management, right?
Yeah, you keep your good executives up there.
Yes.
Maybe just a few brilliant ones, and then the rest you just throw away, like, the executive of administrative executives. You get rid of that person.
You'd be surprised, though. The administrative executives often are the ones doing that for everything. No,
I'm saying the executives of the administrative executives, not the administrative executives.
Cubed. No. I've actually thought about this a lot, and I kind of had this feeling like perhaps because we do have like a population decline a little bit, at least in the western side in the United States, but other different places. I think Europe also has a bit of a population dip.
In China.
Yeah, and then you're watching like water, like areas because of climate change or whatever, it's like more drought, and there's starting to be predictions that because of all the mass migration, you might see population dip. And so I wonder, like our systems right now are actually built for growing populations. Like when you put into retirement, you're going to get money because more people buy stuff and more stuff gets, like it's all about expending resources and stuff. So if we are faced with the opposite, we're going to have to figure out a way to adapt. And so the only way I think that can happen is to start sort of transitioning maybe humans towards human care, because like right now, like elderly care, huge gap right now. And so, like if you lose your Wall Street job, well, maybe you transition into like a human care job, body workers,
no,
like massage care.
I do not want the person who was on Wall Street.
Dude,
Is gonna
I
get back
bet
to
Yeah.
job.
you. No,
But
no, no, no.
I
anyway,
am
Think
hold on,
about it.
hold
good.
It's
on.
Phoebe when she was going to have a heart attack versus Phoebe as a massage therapist. Big
But
difference.
Phoebe's root was a massage therapist.
I don't really appreciate this notion that like everything is a foregone conclusion, though, too, because you mentioned
Oh,
the
no.
population.
I'm not
You
saying
meant
that will happen. I
okay.
just said some people think, but
Well,
yeah.
let me just finish my. I wasn't accusing you of anything. I was speaking of something else.
Oh,
This idea that everything is already the ball has been set into motion and just there's nothing that we can do about it is only the narrative of the people who are pushing the ball, not anybody else. And I, like with the population thing, the people who are pushing for the solution are the ones who causes the problem. So it's like, maybe we shouldn't have so many plastics in our water. Maybe we shouldn't have, terrible foods that we are giving all of our poor people. Maybe, we shouldn't have a world which, people have to struggle and like pay, have go bankrupt over a $400 emergency, things like that. Like, this idea that like, oh, AI is a foregone conclusion, everybody's going to lose their jobs is a foregone conclusion, is just the narrative of the people who will benefit from that. Nobody else's. It's not the people who are going to lose their jobs benefit or a narrative.
well, but
It's
I
not the
guess
truck drivers that are like, yeah, man, AI is coming for my job. It's like,
no,
it's the people who own the company so that they can make more money, and the people who are out of everything.
Hey,
and I get that.
continue.
You sure?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I was just gonna say, and I get that, but I wonder. There's all this discussion about like certain job profiles being like you can't be human to have those jobs. Like you have to become heartless or an asshole or mean, or I think what like the top CEOs, 80% of them have like uh sociopathic tendencies, or I don't know. I mean, like they have no like there's all this weird stuff
How would a
that
machine be any different?
well, I'm just saying, like, maybe it's because those jobs aren't really good for people. And so maybe like offloading some of the burden of like that extra fast processing, maybe that could alleviate, some of the need to sort of like be all closed off and tough and all that stuff. I don't know.
It's
It's a
just, to
theory.
me, it's like humans were causing our own problems, and then we're like, oh, that's okay. Tech daddy is going to fix it. Don't worry about it. Everybody wash their hands.
Don't
Daddy.
don't patronize the argument. She might actually have something valid there, where like in these typically highly logical jobs, which is the psychopath, you have a purely logical person with a very low to like zero emotional intelligence. It might do some good to offload that logical uh, offload that logical load onto something else to keep a kind of more balanced emotional state and just letting that thing work where you have the two work in unison. I think there's a little bit of an argument there. But what I say we should do is you take everybody above 40. I'm sorry, 50. I apologize. Take everybody above 50, put a little chip in like a pacemaker in their heart, and Logan's run everybody. Once you get past a certain age, then you go through the AI lottery. And if you're picked, you're done. And the majority of some of those folks are going to be CEOs. Actually, maybe it should be like you make $1 million a year and you're above 50. So you have to get this thing put in your heart. And then Logan's run it every year and run a lottery.
Logan's run.
And if you're picked, you're dead. So you can let the young kind of come up, and then we don't have to worry about AI taking a bunch of people's jobs. You fix all the problems.
Well, here's another.
I miss the days where leave me the fuck alone was the attitude. I don't understand why everything about our lives has to be ultra micromanaged. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's fair.
Well, one person says that like it's not so much that the population's going to dip, it's that it's going to stabilize at a lower than we thought. And so if that's the case, then it's like, right, there's three types of societies. You have one with an expanding population, one with a just right Goldilocks population that sustains itself, and then one that's dwindling. And I think those three different groups are probably going to interact with this AI differently. And that's to be determined, just like AI is to be determined, just like
What
so much is going to be
yeah,
determined.
what I would love to see is sort of AI take over, like the set of jobs and allow people, because allow, at least in LA, this is a very LA argument I'm going to make here. You get a lot of people working menial jobs, but have other passions in art and stuff like that. It'd be great if AI can take those jobs. They get some sort of stipend. They get some sort of some UBI type thing that is equivalent to what they would make in that job, and then they're allowed to make art, or they're allowed to like pursue their passion, whatever it may be. It's not to be art; it could be mathematics, physics. Again, Einstein was working in a patent office, all that shit.
Just learn physics, corn farmer. Like what? I
No,
don't-
not corn farmer. Farming becomes like a family passed down tradition.
Okay, menial laborer in the middle of America. Just learn
No, I
physics.
said that this was an LA based.
You said menial job. You said menial.
In LA.
Yeah, in LA. So this
Like,
is a very
the-
city-based argument. A menial job takes a lot of intelligence to do some farming, right? If you that becomes a much more complex system within rural America. I don't know if like I don't know what the lifestyle of rural Americans is. Maybe there's people that love farming, want to do farming their whole life. Let them continue to do that. Not like I don't think there'll ever be a day where AI-based farms would be able to outpace human farms with machines and tools, because AI is about decision making. It's not about, and you're still grounded by the control of plants growing. Now within like look at whiskey making. You have things within Iley within that are all very human based. They do the same thing for thousands of years. But out here in the city, they have ways to try to circumvent that thing, circumvent the whole process of making whiskey, where you get a very short distillery process. Those things still taste different. So AI could come up with some quicker way to, I don't know, grow the damn thing, but the damn thing is still going to taste two different ways. And that's where you get into like weird subsidy laws, and like that's where the situation becomes more complex. I'm talking about within LA and within the cities. I know very little about rural life, so I want to constrain our conversation.
Okay, well, a menial job in the city is still a job to somebody.
Yeah, sure, but that time that they're spending doing that job could be spent writing a song.
But that's
Could be
for
some painting.
them to decide. Like, who?
I
Why?
think
Why would
he
it be
was-
anybody's decision to not
think-
do that? Huh?
Because
What?
earlier he
Yes.
floated the idea of if an AI takes the place of a menial job, then the person that worked that menial job gets some sort of maybe basic UBI or something
Yeah,
to allow them
Right,
to like.
but what if they
funnel-
just want to work their menial job? Is
And
my
that's
my whole
fine.
point.
That would be
No, that's
cool.
fine.
It'd be like Ayla with an army of AI. Like, welcome to Star.
Trust me, dude, like-
this is me and my robot army. It's
like
gonna go-
simple Mike's life is working at a deli shop, cutting meats
Yeah.
and then making Jesus. Like I would be completely happy with that life.
Did you say making Jesus?
Sure, it's an honest living.
I don't know, trying to
Like
cut
then
cheese.
the cheese.
Cut
yeah.
Jesus.
I love you,
not
Jesus.
Oh,
Jesus.
Jesus.
Yeah, cut Jesus.
Good Lord.
I
I
thought I
want to
was
be a Roman.
Oh,
I was like,
man.
that's a lot of jumps. Because people see Jesus in a tortilla, and I was like, well, maybe he's gonna make the sandwich that has a Jesus pop up in it. And I
No,
thought there
it's,
was like a deeper. I'm sorry,
Like,
guys.
you know how you have like cheese. That my thing cheese in the glass is a cheese Jesus.
There you go.
Jesus.
Jesus. Yes.
Jesus. Don't forget to pay the
Oh,
cheese
fuck.
tax to your dogs, people.
No, like if somebody wants to work that job, that's fine. Like if that's what they enjoy doing and pastime, let them do that. I'm not saying that AI is the complete replacement, but it can always aid with that sort of stuff. We have to, but it takes a change in business logic, because usually they're like, oh, I see you like my buddy works at a grocery store, and he has a certain amount of orders to complete whenever somebody calls in for like Instacart or something.
Mhm.
The idea is that AI would alleviate that sort of thing, where he can work at his own pace, however he wants. He doesn't have to keep up with some sort of quota. You remove the quota and let him just work and pay him the money if he wants to work that job. But if he doesn't, then you supply the stipend and let them do whatever they want.
Yeah, I just don't think that there's any initiative for a business owner to not just employ AI if the option is there. I mean, you'd have to subsidize the business for like a quality of life quota for people who actually want to have those menial jobs.
You can work in like the Hollywood incentive program, where like say if you hire X amount of humans, you get Y amount of tax credit.
Right? Yes. Yeah, that makes sense.
Sort of thing, right?
Mhm.
That's the Hollywood incentive thing.
Yeah.
Then
And I think
again,
I'll go for it. Ella.
well, I was gonna say I'm getting Theseus vibes again though, because it's like, okay, I was writing an email earlier today, and there's a function within the email system that I use where every now and then it'll start to finish your sentence for you. If it's a basic something, like, you write your message and then you're like, I hope that makes sense. Have a great. All I
Mhm.
type is have a, and then it'll autofill a great day, period. And I find myself waiting for that because I'm like, oh, that's convenient.
I
And
change it.
no, I know.
Anytime I
Sometimes
see a suggested, I'm like, nope, I'm not going to type what you
Oh
just
my
made
God, he's so
suggested
angry
to
at
me.
AI. He's
I
so-
Not
know.
doing it. Not
Well,
doing
How
it.
are we friends, Nick? How are we not kidding?
Hey
He's on,
man,
like,
look,
the
I have
Luddite
no
path,
problem.
let me
Yeah,
tell you.
I have no problem with other people wanting to use it or anything like that. But I just like also like, yeah, it's like these are the little active, mini or mini
Oh,
revolutions that I'm wielding against technology.
yeah, no,
Well,
you do
right.
you.
Not letting you autofill my sentence.
Don't worry.
okay?
Hey, I'll develop better code that just autofills it without the
Right.
suggestion.
I know.
Right,
Yeah,
right. It just
exactly.
does it. Well, but so what I was going to say though is like, what if it begins to autofill more and more? And so then I went to that movie, The Office, with what's his name? I believe you have my stapler.
Office
And
Space.
Office Space, there it is. And basically, they just stopped paying. No, what is it? They forgot
They
that he was
fixed the
on
glitch.
payroll. Then they fixed the glitch, and they're like, "Well, it'll work itself out," you know. But it's kind of like, yeah, what if you're just working and you're leaning on AI more and more and more and more? Then you get to the point where it's like, well, wait, what do you do? And you're
What
like,
is
well,
it that
I
you do
do
here?
here, yeah. And you're like,
Hey, what is it? What is it? What
I'm a
is the
good people
majority?
person.
Yeah. Well, that guy is actually pretty useful for engineer. Engineers should not interact with customers. But regardless,
he is useful, yeah.
there is a lot of layers of job creation bureaucracy. But the thing is, like, the problem that we're trying to solve is the how do people get the most out of life, and can AI kind of help that by removing these superfluous thought loops that people have, where it's from a strict cold-hearted CEO point of view where it's not really needed. Right, you have layers of bureaucracy on layers of bureaucracy. Like, how best do you have AI serve your business and serve the human in finding their own purpose? And maybe the answer is that they don't know their purpose, or they just kind of want to do the 9 to 5 thing and watch TV all day or watch TV all night, and maybe they have more responsibilities of being a parent and that sort of stuff. How do we best
Maybe
facilitate?
labor keeps them from doing drugs or harming other people. Like there's levels to labor that are important. And I like I get what you're saying, because yes, we do want to maximize quality of life for everybody. But I think the idea that leisure is the only optimal life.
Implying parenting is leisure?
No, because you didn't say you just said parenting at the end of that. You said other things too that were leisurely, like
That
painting or art or whatever.
Implying that those things are
Poetry.
leisurely.
Yes, they are leisurely. Those are luxury things.
I don't know if they're leisure though. That sounds like work to me.
It's leisure, dude. It's leisure.
There's
Work is labor.
Why is not writing labor? What do you mean by labor?
No, but there's a difference
What?
between somebody who paints a painting for leisure activities and
Yeah, and
someone who
somebody
paints it for like obsessive, like serious, artistic reasons. There's a difference. I can see
Or
both
what if
sides.
that's your job? Your job is to paint. Is that not labor?
Who's paying you?
I don't know. Some company to paint the wall green. Is that not labor?
Yeah, if you're painting a wall for a company, sure, I guess. But you're talking about making paintings. not
If you're
painting houses.
if you're painting a mural for a some sort of establishment, is that not a job? Like if somebody paints your
Yeah,
hires
Ah,
you.
but
now you're obviously you're shifting the goalpost here. I'm talking about the importance of the doing something that you don't necessarily want to do all the time. That's what I'm talking about. That's what labor is.
can
Labor
I
is
add?
yes.
What is a labor? Continue. Ayla.
I was just going to add two things because, on the one hand, I like the idea of having more freedom, allowing people to use perhaps cathartic art activities or art as a means for vocation and meaning. But I also wonder, like, okay, a couple of murals can help for sure. But if like 100,000 people are painting murals all the time,
Right.
does that become a problem? And then on the other side, I think about like
And why would they not hire AI to paint them? I mean,
well, I was thinking about also is like in a
Yeah,
monastery, um, sweeping the floors. Yes, you could get a Roomba at a monastery, but there's something about sort of the meditation and the act of caring for the space and taking that meditative approach to repetitive action that it probably is unpleasant, but there's something to be gained there. So I'm just throwing those two out there because I kind of
Oh,
see where you're both coming from, and it's interesting to kind of like pick at all of this for sure.
yeah, but you look at the Buddhists, right? That paint sand painting, destroy them, or see raking and cleaning as a very cathartic art. That's not by Nick's definition, and correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm a Buddhist and I find calm in cleaning something, is that not labor, or is that labor? Not labor. Is that labor? Is the question.
no, I don't know what you're hung up on this concept of labor. My point is that I think it's healthy for people socially to do things that they don't necessarily want to do all the time. I don't understand this equivalent of somebody getting removed from an office job through AI and then being a painter, as if like that's just what do you mean? Be a painter?
Well,
Do you just go work for somebody
so
else to be a painter? What are we painting houses? Are we?
so then abstractly, you could replace that with doing something that they would like to do. If they would like
Right.
to work in an office, then
Which
go
is
work
my
in an office.
point, is I think that it's healthy for people to have to do things they don't want to do all the time. Like
What if
doing something you want to do all the time. Like what does that do for that's leisure.
so
Doing everything you want to do at all times, that's leisure.
so what is a labor of love then within this context?
What do you mean?
So this again, you might be right that I'm hung up on this thing labor, but
Yeah.
if we're defining labor as something that we don't want to do, what is a labor of love? Is that a useless saying now? Do we remove
No,
that?
because you're getting caught up on the labor. I'm saying it's important for it's important for people to have something that they don't want to do all the time. And if you don't want to call that labor, you can call it smorgasbord. That's fine. People need to
Okay.
have smorgasbord.
Okay, so then they should constantly seek non-comfort.
No, because then you're swinging it to the other pole. No, I said that it's important for people to do stuff that they don't want to do sometimes. Like you can't do what you want to do at all times.
Okay. So if you could do a craft and get paid for it, does that mean that you don't want to do
Yeah,
the
there are
craft?
tons of times I don't want to do something and I still do it. Just because I
Sure.
like to make knives doesn't mean that I enjoy every process of it. Hand sanding takes hours and it's a bitch and it cramps my hands and I hate it.
Sure, but that's part of, I think, just being human though. There are times that I have a pure passion for computer programming, but there are days where I get up and don't want to do it, but I still
Right.
do it. But I
Right.
don't I think that, but let's say I was bagging groceries like I used to. I would prefer to wake up and not want to program and still program instead of wake up and not want to bag groceries and bag groceries. So how do we allow people to go from something that they want to not do less to something that, or not want to do more to something that they don't want to do less. That makes sense. Do you get where I'm getting?
Sure. Yes, you're asking if there is a trade-off to between, something. Is it a better to hate the job that you love than, occasionally love the job that you hate? Maybe. Sure. I can definitely understand that sentiment, but I also wouldn't say that, like, if everybody is given the opportunity to do what they want to do, we would be left with a lot of gaps. And if we want to fill AI with those gaps, that's fine. But there's nothing to say that AI can't fill the other gaps of the things that we actually want to do. So what are we doing? We're just kind of resetting the table.
Yeah,
And
I think that's the point of this next industrial revolution, is to reset the table and let people figure out what they want to labor in.
yeah, sure. But why would that labor actually yield anything if AI could do it?
Well, that's where law comes in. That's where humans have to step in and say AI is allowed to do this, this, and this. It's not allowed to do this, this, and this.
What if somebody wants a mural of it, AI to make a mural of art? You know what I mean? Like,
then you better go get a very special license. Go do it now.
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like, yes, I understand there are people. Well, of course it's complicated.
Well, look at hunting, right? I just can't take a gun and go hunt an animal, right?
Well, in theory, you could.
Yes, you definitely
frowned
can.
upon and not legal.
Right, but maybe that's what AI should be, where it's frowned upon to get an AI-based mural. But if you really want it, you go out and get a license to go do it, and then you could go do it for whatever reason. Maybe you're building a hall, a computer museum.
I'm just picturing a suburb and somebody has an AI-generated painting, and the whole neighborhood's like, oh, can you believe it? They got an AI mural. What the fuck? Like, that's so gross. Or whatever, like it becomes all this weird taboo. Like, but then that's like our culture starts centering around it more and more.
So what if everybody wants to become belly dancers?
I'm down for that. I'm happy to watch that.
I mean, it'll be entertaining for sure, but we already see the oversaturation of so many markets because of the way, people were shuffled through academia. I don't see why there wouldn't be a sort of Pareto distribution amongst the desirable, jobs, if there are even jobs. I don't think they would be jobs at all.
You already have that right now with influencers or people that post.
Right. So everybody just becomes an influencer.
On YouTube. Yeah, we're already there, bro. We don't even need AI to do it.
Right, but some people still have to work their lives. How are you going to monetize that if 2 billion people become influencers? Then we already see what the process is. Only very few people make money off the internet. The most of us don't. So what are we doing?
There's a very beautiful thing where need comes in, and all of a sudden those 2 billion influencers, some of them open up 3D printing toy shops where they make little tiny toys. Some of them open up coffee shops. Some of them open up beer shops. The capital that they made in the boom of in order, like 2 billion people aren't going to become influencers just to become influencers. They're going to do it there because there's some monetary gain. That monetary gain will be very steep and then go down very quick. So the people that adapt will find new avenues of capital to gain. They will find new businesses to build.
Why wouldn't those jobs be taken by AI though?
Now you're saying that jobs can be taken, like entrepreneurs. Like, why would that? That would have to be a legal president. Remember, we're the ones creating this shit.
If AI is about the fiscal opportunities, why it's fiscally sound to hire something you don't have to pay. So why in the world would you just decide to hire somebody you'd have to pay?
Well, we're talking about entrepreneurship. You asked, like, why wouldn't AI pick up those entrepreneurial things, right? Or was I wrong in the evaluation?
No, I'm just asking, like, if you're a TikTok influencer, you make $2 million. You decide that you want to open up a bakery chain or a deli chain, like you said. Why would you ever hire a human to help you with the deli chain?
Again, licensing, right? It comes down to this sort of thing of like, if you have to set up a governmental system to kind of regulate this sort of thing of like, there's only X amount of AI-based butchers.
Right. Then we have a panel of people deciding who gets what job.
We already have that.
No, we don't. We have a free
It's
market.
called a job interview. It's called a hiring
No.
board. It's
I'm
called a
talking about
hiring person.
a governmental panel that would choose the job for its citizens. That's what I'm talking about.
No, it doesn't choose. It chooses the licenses to hand out to certain business.
Effectively giving the opportunity for people to have jobs. The licenses would be the gate to the jobs.
What if you keep it really low? Are you saying that this is principally unsound?
I mean, to me, it just sounds like we're adding layers of complexity on something that has already been. We're already like the free market. We already get to do the jobs that we want to do.
No, we do not.
Okay, fine. We don't.
Within the free market, how often do people get the job they want to do?
Are you doing the job you want to do?
Yeah, hard. I had to fight for it over a year.
Okay, but that doesn't
year
matter.
And a half, I didn't get to do it.
Okay, but now you do.
That's the same thing within this system.
No, it's not. Because if I wanted to be a baker, or a butcher, why would the butcher owner hire me if there's a financial benefit to hiring AI, which you don't have to pay?
Because there's a limited amount of AI licenses.
Right, which then goes back to the government bureaucracy that issues those licenses. So we have a new government system that tells us which jobs people have.
Hey, no, I don't think it's that dictatorial though, because I don't think you can hand out enough licenses to completely eradicate a job market. There's always going to be somebody who wants to open up a new bakery shop.
What if instead of having leisure time, there's like a whole new huge wave of employment, which is conversing with the AI, keeping it relevant? Because from what I understand, AI can aggregate existing knowledge, but it's tougher for it to generate something new. And so in order for it to stay relevant, you might need a big workforce to continue to engage it and to be compensated for that engagement so that the AI always has fresh ideas. It stays relevant, on the nose, topical, blah, 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 blah. And that could be like a really interesting little middle ground.
But it will have to, that will take time for the knowledge to go from say like a computer scientist down to a vocational level. Right now that doesn't exist within program. You have some like programming boot camps and stuff like that, which is good. I'm happy people that go through that to get those jobs, and they can monitor the AI and they can kind of help it expand and do the things you're talking about. But you have to break it down from like a level of education, like here down to a level of
No. I'm talking about like the reason they made open AI is because before they had it opened, it was a closed loop. And so it was leaving out a lot of voices. By making it open, you allow it to learn from people who wouldn't normally have access to it. And it's free for us to use, and it's free for us to be users. I'm saying though, is that it's going to benefit from having more people interact with it. And I think that eventually tech companies are going to start to have to compensate users because they only exist because of users. AI is only going to continue to be relevant because of users. And you don't need a PhD to be a user. You can just talk some shit about whatever you read or think about, because that helps to feed it fresh human ideas.
Yeah, and it has gone down.
Why would that not be considered a menial job?
It has gone down from the.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying it would be like kind of a middle ground, right? Like it sort of creates this new opportunity for engagement, maybe.
No, it doesn't. But then ChatGPT has done a good job of reducing it from, say, the people that make things like generative predictive transformers, or the fuck it's called, down to API users, right? These are the people that pay for it to send in the requests and all that stuff, down to the common day user that asks it questions. Nick is right, where it would be a menial job to communicate with it, and you can offset that through another AI that asks it questions, which would completely ruin this little thing. But
Yeah, it'd be funny. It'd be like you're on your coffee break and you're like, damn, dude, how was your morning? Oh, I had to spend 30 minutes talking about diapers. Yeah, well, yeah, try talking about like the latest news about sea urchins, because there has to be some topics that it's going to need to engage with a human about. And it's going to be the topics nobody wants to talk about.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, those systems usually end up straying very far from like industrial systems of like how, what do you think the best configure, like, where do you think the best place for this carburetor is when I'm building a car or something, or where do you think the best place for this what planet should this fucking robot go to, or I don't know. But those questions, it would be interesting to see, but that could be a job where you ask questions. That's actually part of the job of a programmer, is to be very efficient at searching, because a lot of the stuff that we do, we end up going to Google or asking something else to try to find, and it's like an SEO type thing.
Very
Um,
true. But I think the argument against that is that things start to become cookie cutter. If you use AI to do all your screenplays, all the screenplays start sounding like the same thing.
yeah,
You need fresh ideas in order to keep it relevant and fresh and
yeah, we're
interesting.
we're excluding creativity, because like right now the overarching thing is like, let's say we had AI do all the coal mining jobs. How do we get all the coal miners into a place where they have a good job, can make good money, and feel good about the stuff that they do?
Well, I'll
Like
tell you
like
right
what's the
here,
transition?
there's some mining operations that are popping up, and they're just desecrating native lands. I would have hoped that AI would find an alternative solution, to some of that stuff. um but sorry, I can't. I'm reeling over the Oak Flat stuff. I can't stop thinking about that. But yeah, no, with AI, I don't know how that
This
would play
one's
out with like industry versus city versus rural versus blah blah
yeah,
blah blah blah,
that's
but it's complicated. It's going to be complicated, and I think you guys are alluding to the fact that humanity is sort of at this like threshold of we've got so much chaos and we're introducing more chaos, and it's not exactly obvious who's going to lead us out of the chaos or what, you know.
and sadly at once time, all this land was sacred, where if you put your foot on it, you would fucking step on a sacred fern or something. But those days are gone. Now the sacred land is reduced to much less. But these questions still poignant, which is like the other avenue with AI is again going the kind of like the transhumanist route, where you start to plug all this stuff in your brain, and now all of a sudden oh, I'm gonna get so much shit for this. All of a sudden, the
Uh-oh.
coal miner can write a chat GPT themselves. And no disrespect, I got a lot of respect for coal miners. No disrespect at all. But this is now like the things where like it starts to change within this weird industrial revolution. Where how is it that we start to interact with AI so that we can um, get people to be, I guess, more than human, or is it even good? Like, should we even
Hmm.
do that, or should we limit? Like for me, I'll end it there. Do you think it's good or not? Before I move on to the next question,
Yeah,
like if we shift out of this menial work thing, if a menial worker wants a piece of AI in their brain to try something else, is that good or bad? Should we force everybody to get things in their brain to get them to change jobs and change IQs or something like that?
yeah, I think, these are interesting questions, and I think that they're sort of like applied questions of what is a good life, which is something we've never really been able to figure out how to answer. I was just watching this movie about climbers, and for them, it's like, yeah, you could have a desk job, but that's kind of looked down upon. It's like life is risking your life on the side of a cliff. And if you die at 22 doing what you love, that's a good way to go. That's pride and joy. That's not, a lot of people don't jive with that. And a lot of people can't access that type of existence. And a lot of people do and hate it. And a lot of people don't and find they don't for a reason. So I think, yeah, it's a complicated question. I don't really know how to answer that one.
Like,
Nick, are
showing
you
that.
dying of
No, it's all right.
existential?
I was, when you get old and you start sitting weird and then you move after 20 minutes, it kind of hurts. Sorry. No, I'm wincing because I was sitting on my leg and that was
Oh
dumb.
no! Did you cut off the nerve where like
Yeah.
your whole leg goes numb?
Yes.
Oh no!
You know,
Oh,
if you had
no,
a
it didn't.
chip, you'd never have to feel
This
that.
is true. This is true. If you
Or
could
if
take
you were-
away my sleeping leg,
Dude, if I could chop off my legs and get some of those spring legs, or
hey,
like
moon
even
bounces.
oh
Yeah.
my
Moon
god!
bounces.
Hey, that person was found in the Olympics. The dude that had both like the spring legs was found to be cheating because he didn't have to deal with like lactic acid or have to deal with it. It was just
Oh,
he was
man.
just going.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
If I could
absolutely.
get
That'd be
like
a good run, though.
Mhm.
my favorite kind of story of this is Star Fox. So in Star Fox, all the pilots had to get their legs cut off and replaced with robotic legs that interact with your brain because the G forces, the blood flow and everything, flying on different planets and flying in space and all the combined stuff ends up fucking up your heart and end up like killing pilots. So they just straight up cut off the legs and replace it with robot legs so that the blood would flow in your chest. I'm
It's
like,
kind of smart, actually.
yeah, I'm like, I want those legs. Give me
Yeah.
those legs. I would fucking love those
Well,
legs.
it's pretty
You kidding
smart.
me?
Yeah.
You never have to do leg day again.
No, no need.
And
Just kick brick
have-
walls.
Have you guys seen 127 Hours? The guy that gets pinned by that boulder
Mhm.
and he has to like. So I remember watching it and I thought it was really interesting because it's like a chronology of the shift of that's his arm, he wants to keep it, to that's the barrier that's keeping him dead. It's get rid of it. It's a lot. You know what I mean? Like there was a shift where the limb became less of himself and more of an enemy. And I think that that's kind of an interesting thing to note because that's his brain on an emotional side sort of letting go. And then should he get a replacement, that's sort of like an improvement and things like that, the brain does start to rewire. So I think that's kind of interesting too, is the way that like you can regard something that is yours differently depending on the situation and pain and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember. I can't make that joke on it.
Nope.
Never mind. Never mind. I was gonna make a gonorrhea joke, but I'll skip over it.
Ooh.
But to answer your question
Oh
about
my god.
Go,
menial jobs and whether like it's a good thing to have them be able to like upgrade the brain with Neuralink or whatever comes out. It's eventually will come out. I think it's like of course my inclination to say is to say that like maximum freedom is the best option for everybody. So if they are deciding to do so, then I absolutely support them in that endeavor. I just also feel like there's a little bit of disconnect between the ideas, and maybe this is what needs to happen. Maybe we need to have a panel of actual laborers or workers, manual laborers, talk to the people creating AI.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I think there's an attitude amongst the people developing AI that the people who do these jobs are miserable. And while I agree that there are a lot of miserable people, there are a lot of very happy people. And I think it would do them good to understand that there isn't this hierarchy of a good life like they think it is, it's incredibly subjective. It's incredibly subjective. And it makes me squirrely when we have people decide, what the, good life is, quote unquote.
Yeah. And I would also add in like philosophers and other people to that group because I also would like I think about the jobs that I've done in my life and all of that stuff and levels of happiness. And there were times where I was doing a job that made a bunch of money where I was completely unhappy. Times where I was door dashing, making, I don't know, like 6 or 20 grand a year before taxes, and being completely happy with that, right?
Mhm.
Outside of everything else. And it, I fear, my big fear with the that sort of stuff is that they've, with menial workers, or not even like high end workers too. People, um, silver spoon kids, nepo babies, as the pop term goes. It's like, have you ever experienced a life outside of the life you're currently experiencing?
Mhm.
Have you, do you come down from a long line of whatever trade or profession that you're in? All right, well, let's try to open the door so that you experience another kind of life. And I'm trying to be very evasive with the terms I use for appropriate reasons. And like the worst case I can imagine is finding the one dude who really enjoys fucking working a menial job, being surrounded by AIs that don't talk, that can't respond. Because a big part of those jobs, even service jobs, are the people you work with.
Mhm.
And that's the pure enjoyment. And if 80% of those people leave because they don't want to do it and only 20% left, how does that change the job too?
Yeah, makes it a lot more difficult for sure. But I mean, then it's almost like, then we're just paying restitution to the people that are get left behind because again, we've accepted this inevitability that
That,
we have to just replace our workforce.
not
you
replace,
know.
but like, I wouldn't say replace, but give people the opportunity to do something different. I'm not saying mass firing and replacement, but the opportunity to pursue something else should, so they wish. Maybe maybe 95% of the people in certain workforces want to stay there, and only 5% leave because they have to.
I'm all for a career rumspringer for everybody. Let everybody have a year off and see. I'm okay
Yeah,
with people experimenting with the idea. I just don't 100% think that it's going to be positive every time. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'd be happy if everybody could just quit their job for a year, go find out what they really love to do, try it, fail, and then maybe go back to the job that they were doing before, because there's going to be a high rate of failure.
in the world of AI, define failure.
Well, I mean, we're humans, so until we become the AI, then we don't have to worry about the failure. But like, just like everybody wanting to be an influencer, not everybody's going to be able to do that. I mean, I could want to paint a mural, but nobody's going to want me to paint a mural. That's for sure, because I
Yeah, but if
suck at painting.
if you got a certain amount of money, you could sure practice for the rest of your life.
Certainly, you could. Yes, absolutely, you could. Yes.
You could go nuts and be like, "Look at these stick figures. Are
Yeah,
these
I
stick
did
figures
that.
good yet? Are
Yeah.
these?" And then 20 years later, look at these stick figures, motherfucker. Are these stick figures good yet? Oh,
I
so
can't do hands. I don't know. I just can't
oh,
get
hands are
hands right.
so like I took the hardest class I ever took. Like I've taken multivariable calculus. Some asshole in differential equations gonna be like, "Oh, you didn't take real math." Multivariable calculus. I've took fucking discrete mathematics all the way up to logical, and I've done a bunch of shit, or even abstract algebra a little bit. Hardest class I ever took was drawing one, because I had to draw my left hand with my right hand, and then draw my right hand with my left hand.
Mm-mm.
Oh no,
No,
no, I'm good.
it's very difficult.
Stick me in the deep learning classes. Stick me in all of the
Art
math
classes
shit.
will humble you real quick.
Oh,
Real
you're telling
quick.
me. You're fucking telling me.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I'll
my
never forget my roommate in college, our senior year. I majored in philosophy and I got stuck doing logic proofs. I saved all the logic classes for my last year, which was a horrible decision. And her math classes went from being formula to like having to do essays about theorems and stuff. And I just remember we were just so toe up that whole year because it was like not my cup of tea. And so, yeah, I think experiencing the opposite of something that you're kind of good at or comfortable with is good.
my favorite moment of our or one of my favorite moments of our friendship. I got out of class, drive back from Irvine, we meet up at the garage. and like there's some homework I had to do, and I had to like a fucking somebody hit me over the head with inspiration or something. Start to write down something on a napkin, and Nick looks at me and goes, "What are you doing? Theoretical mathematics?" And like I look at it, and I'm like, "Oh shit, I am."
Kind of, probably.
Nice.
Figured if it's on a napkin, it's got to be math. You know,
Right,
or-
right.
yeah,
Otherwise, you're writing, how do you like them apples?
right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but like you get to the point of math where nothing's numbers anymore, and you're like, "Oh shit." There's no
Technically, everything's
Greek letters
theoretical
and shit.
mathematics.
I know I was gonna say that, right? You get to the
Yeah.
grounding. There's no grounding in math. It's all yeah, but a different set of symbols.
Mhm.
So true. Then you start unraveling words like or characters like infinity, and it's like, well, I understand how this placeholder symbol works in this series of thoughts and ideas, but once I jump disciplines, it's like a whole other bag of worms. And
Oh, we're gonna get a little bit of indie cam. Yeah, it is a different can of worms with different levels of it.
oh, there's your little face. Bring her
Oh, adorable.
closer.
Nah, she's just being boogie.
So my last question is this, and I'll tell you after I ask. I'll go first, just to like I guess clarify it. What's the most technological thing that you use to aid you in work? For me, it is my music playlist. Right, like without technology, I couldn't have a rotating set of live bands playing. But I use music so much when I'm programming to get into the flow state, to solve industrial problems, that I become reliant on this piece of technology. So yeah, so what's and outside of computers and kind of the basic shit. I mean, arguably music's a basic shit, but whatever. What's the biggest piece of technology that you use to aid you in your psychological process of working?
That's a good question. I mean, certainly podcasts and stuff, especially if I'm doing sort of autonomous work, stuff that I can just kind of do without thinking too much about it. But I'm trying to think, like, I also use like apps for small graphic design, which is kind of fun too. But that's, on the laptop. So obviously I'm using that. I also like to caffeinate, and sometimes it's nice to burn some Palo Santo or some sort of fragrance because I don't know, just kind of puts you in a good mood. I like to burn incense and open the windows and sort of, have the fan on. It kind of puts me in a good work mood.
Yeah, pseudo neurotropic. Yeah, it's probably neurotropic, right? Like it doesn't have any high effect or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some aromatherapy. That's my tech. There you go.
Yeah, for me, it's cigarettes. If I'm working on a problem and I have to step away, I'll step away and have a smoke and ingest that nicotine and think about it for a bit and then come back in and work. How about you, Ayla?
I don't know. I mean, the best I can come up with is the Post-it. It's just Post-its because
they're very important.
They're important, and because having a place where you can like dump a thought and stick it somewhere where it's not going to go anywhere, or a place where you can have like a little to-do list, like this is what I'm doing today, and you can cross little things and be like, okay, well, this is what I'm doing tomorrow. Fresh Post-it, and then you can rip it up. So I'm a big Post-it fan. I like music. Big fan of the Palo Santo.
And you're big on dictating.
Oh, I am.
Very
I am. Good. Yeah, I blew out my hands. I shattered the bone on one of my fingers on one hand, and then I had surgery on my other hand, and I already was getting like carpal tunnel or something like that. So yeah, with the volume of typing, I have to dictate and use their I don't know. I custom coded my keyboard to read text back to me, because it's like if I write so many emails in a day, words start to lose all meaning. So I have to have it read aloud to me while I read it. Otherwise, I can't focus after like 2 hours. Because I just
Some
do a lot
sort
of
of like
emails.
neurofeedback loop. By
A little
Do you guys
bit.
they want
do you
to
guys
instill.
do you guys ever
Mhm.
see patterns in giant blocks of text?
That's how
Yes.
I'm dyslexic. That's how I read.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
like the spaces in between each letter and word
Oh
The
start
yeah,
to
the
kind of
Korean?
kerning.
form. Yeah, start to
Mhm.
form like designs and stuff. That trips me
Yeah.
out.
Like the
That's why I don't
negative
like looking
space.
at long emails because I just focus on those spaces.
Oh, I'm all about like indenting and bullets. Like if
Wait,
my email's long, you better believe I've called out what you have to read that's important, and then the rest you can ignore or save for when you have to like circle back to
I
it.
gotta start taking the textbook form and start bolding the things. I'm like, all right, you gotta read this. All the rest of it is context. I'll assume you know what you're doing, but the bold text, read this shit. Anything else? No. And then like
Oh yeah, and it's funny to know like cuz like if you send somebody like instructions or text that you know you've spent time on and it answers every question under the sun, and then they ask you the question, you're just like, I know you didn't read that. I know you didn't read that.
yeah. I've done spite emails where I've done very verbose technical explanations of things
Oh
that would
no.
probably be like 4 or 5 pages out proper. And then I make it like not 12 font, but like 11.9 or 11.8, just
So
slightly
it doesn't look
smaller.
as long.
Yeah. And then move like the spacing just a little bit closer. So it becomes a bigger block of text. I'm like, oh, I want to make you suffer because you
Yeah,
have to read.
it'd be
You better
awful.
read. You asked the fucking question. So here's the exact answer.
Oh my god. And you know what's funny about that is I bought Nick a magnifying glass, like one of those old school nautical looking ones, just because he said he wanted it. And then I ended up taking it from him because yeah, like emails like that, I print them out. I'm like, I can't see this shit. I'm using the little magnifying glass. I know I can zoom out my browser, but if I have a million tabs, it zooms them all out. So I gotta like I guess I could
Yeah.
separate the windows, but then you have more windows. Anyway, it's
I'm
funny
waiting.
to think about how much on the laptop. It's like it's so layered, right? Like I don't know.
I couldn't do my job if computers didn't exist. My job would be null and void if electricity.
Solar flare away from being unemployed. It's like
Right, and not even
everyone's tech
unemployed.
A lot
shirt.
of people are.
Yeah, we're not even unemployed. Where the theoretical knowledge is gone. like, oh fuck, who remembers von Neumann design? We have nothing to rebuild. Oh shit! All right,
Dude,
all right.
that's my fear is that like as we layer knowledge upon knowledge upon knowledge, if any of those systems collapse, who's schooled in the old school shit? And it only is because like I was watching a Grey's Anatomy episode and this old surgeon and this young precocious surgeon with a lot of hubris, they interact with one another. And the older one makes a mistake and the younger one's like, well, this should have been done laparoscopically. And the older surgeon's like, trying to prove a point and they're in surgery to fix the thing. And she's like, well, now if the power went out right now and you were doing this laparoscopically, you would kill your patient because you wouldn't know what you're doing. You can't see the inside. And then they got into this discussion of how surgeons are still kind of on the fence. Some people like to be more hands-on. Some people like the more robotic assisted technology. And the guy that was mediating the conversation was sort of like, I don't know, both have their merits, but
We gotta go steampunk. I'm sorry, continue.
no, that was it. That was just the whole crux of it, really.
Yeah, we gotta go steampunk. We need backups to the electrical grid.
We
Pure
certainly need
steampunk
backups.
symbols. Yeah,
Regardless of what happens in the future,
Like-
we definitely need
Dude.
backups.
at least in California, can we not put everything on our grid? Our grid
That's a
can
good
barely
idea.
handle us living. We
Oh
wanna
my
put
gosh.
more shit on the grid.
Yeah. Or we need a bigger grid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like,
kids, let's be real.
Desalinization
Yeah.
plants now. No.
It's too looks like I agree. You want to make things greener, great. How are you going to do? Where's the infrastructure?
You know what I'm mad about?
Certainly not anywhere. I don't know where they're putting it.
Yeah, right.
It's not here.
I'll tell you what I'm mad about.
Yeah.
Like 5-6 years ago, we voted for nature crossings up by
By Santa Monica?
Santa Monica, by the Getty, up in those hills, back through LA. And you know what? Like the models that they showed in the ads for that particular bill were beautiful. And I don't know why we don't have that. With all this rain, we could have such lush nature bridges.
Hey, because
What
Fresh
happened,
Laundry got to make
California?
money. That's why. Fresh
Ah.
Laundry, they got to make some cash.
Yeah, you know
Plus,
what?
in the
That
fire
food doesn't
season,
even
it
look
becomes.
good.
Plus, in the fire season, it becomes literally a bridge to cross the freeway for the fire.
But it becomes
animals,
awesome, though.
yeah.
What are you talking about? You know how much I would love to drive under a bridge of fire?
That'd be pretty
listening to
cool.
some like AC/DC.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
There you go.
We during the year of the most beautiful state, during the fire season, the most metal state. Fuck
Mhm.
Texas. What is Texas gonna do? They don't got a bridge of fire. We
Yeah.
do.
Right.
Break out Old Sublime. We go right under that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's all I got.
187 on. Yeah, sorry, it's a good album.
Hey,
Okay.
calm down.
Jeez, I know.
Relax. Jesus.
Lord. All right.
Yeah, man.
Cool beans.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Screaming 187 on a
I have a
motherfucking
question
fire.
though.
Sure,
Do you
go.
know who first coined the term transhumanism?
Dolly Parton.
Could have been. Someone else thinks it was Julian Huxley in a 1957 essay called New Bottles for New Wine.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do I know who the first computer scientist or computer programmer was?
E.T.? No?
A woman by the name of Ada Lovelace. All of computer science is born from her.
Wait,
IBM had this,
Lovelace?
yeah, IBM had this thing where they were celebrating women in computing. Literally not appreciate Ada Lovelace. She's a punch card programmer, but she was the first one out of all of us to ever write a computer program. She's the mother of all of us.
Mm.
Arguably, the father is Alan Turing, but
The head of your house.
yep. Oh, please, that'd be great. I would love to meet her ghost. Like,
You know what
please,
you need to do at
everything.
work? Is you need to make a little altar and put her little picture there, you know,
There
and
you
like
go.
string up a couple USB cords and like put in a couple of Raspberry Pis. And
I wouldn't mind just getting a
broken
shirt.
little
Hey, calm down. Relax.
I think that would be really funny. And then like everybody be like, whoa, what's going on at Mike's desk? And they'll be like, I don't know, man, he got really into Lovelace.
There's this
Honoring
great
the forefathers.
Yeah. There's this great video of another computer programmer where he's like talking to a client, and the client's like, their thing is called Blinds.io, where they sell blinds, like smart blinds. And he's like, yeah, I just want machine learning and blockchain in it. Like, all right, so what's your data set? Like, tell me what you're about. What do you mean? It's all right here, and it's just step 1 blind, step 2 Blinds.io, step 3 profit. And he like
Yes.
closes his video for a bit and takes a mouse and throws it across the room and opens up a drawer and puts a new mouse on there and opens up the room like, okay, so what is that you're looking for? Like the life of a programmer when it comes to telling the clients and any sort of customer. And so yeah, the broken keyboards, all that stuff makes sense. But I'd love a shirt that was just Ada Lovelace's face on it, and just that's it. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't.
I like it. You could put a little year, the year that she did it, you know, or you could have on the back of it like a little a teeny tiny little icon, you know. That
Like a punch card at the top of the neck and the back of the neck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Because you'd see the front and then you see the back and you're like, wait a minute. That was an Easter egg or something like that.
Yeah, some good stuff. But yeah, that's all I got for technological neuro psychotech.
I like it.
Go get a USB port in your brain, plug it in. It's that simple. It'll be fine.
Yes, it is that simple.
Quantum brains for all.
There you go. Yeah. All right, sweet. Let's wrap this up then. Hold on, let me put this on low.
And I appreciate both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
We
your
appreciate you, Mike.
contributions and your
Thanks.
fun
Good
views.
chat. Good
Yeah.
chat.
And you. Yeah, thanks for bringing another episode. Now this is a 3-part series, so you can go check out all 3 episodes. This one concluding the Psychotech. Thank you, all of you out there, for tuning in. We really appreciate it. We're here every Friday night at 8 p.m. Please be sure to give us a subscription and a thumbs up, and follow our YouTube page. It would really mean a lot to us. We're trying to grow that audience. We can't do it without your help. If you want to see what we do with our friends, you can go over to Facebook at Think Ring Talks, and we have a whole list of podcasts that you can go check out, one basically every day of the week. So if you're interested in what we do with our friends, you can go to Think Ring Talks on Facebook and check out all of those podcasts. And stay tuned for next week. We're going to talk about Om and the sound of the universe. I think that'll be
we're not talking
next
about
conversation.
the
Not ohms. Yeah, right. Yes, I should clarify.
Okay. Shit, I got really excited.
I know this won't be an electrician's lecture, unfortunately.
That was
but
a nerdy joke.
We'll be talking about the. We'll be talking about the vibratory frequency of Om, and not the electrical frequency of Om.
Are you going to include the Silmarillion?
I'll be including lots of creation myths that use sound as the impetus for creation, for sure.
Nice.
Lord of the Rings is a psyop. Don't read it. Don't anything of that universe. Don't listen to it. It's not good.
Don't do it.
I love
Don't
it.
do it.
I love that universe so much.
Yep. All right,
Go
guys.
the Star Wars route. Be basic.
There you go. Just stop after the first 3. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, we really appreciate it. Until next time, Cognauts, you stay out there, and we'll catch you on the next Exofathom. Good night.
Peace.
Have fun cognating.
You're really digging